My girlfriend of 9 years didn't want to marry me because I'm an immigrant, and I don't make as much money as she does, so I couldn't accept that. I'm a 30-year-old immigrant living and working in the US. I met my girlfriend, Emily, when I was 21, fresh off the boat as an international student. We met at a small university party, and from our first conversation, I was captivated by her openness and warm smile. Emily is a Native American, raised in a small Midwestern town, sincere and affectionate. Meanwhile, I was just a young man from Vietnam, overwhelmed by the new culture and struggling to integrate into life here. 9 years have passed since that first encounter. We've been together for almost a decade. Our love has weathered many ups and downs, moments of overflowing happiness and times of turmoil. Looking back, I still vividly remember the difficult early days. I struggled with English and cultural adaptation. Emily patiently helped me every step of the way. She taught me how to order food in restaurants, corrected my pronunciation, and even taught me how to drive on highways, which I had never seen before in my life. Back then, I lived frugally on a meager scholarship and a part-time job at the university library. I didn't have much money, often surviving on instant noodles. Knowing my circumstances, Emily often cooked me hot meals or secretly packed homemade lunches in my backpack. Honestly, I was embarrassed at first, partly out of male pride, partly because I didn't want to be a burden to her. But Emily always gently said that she enjoyed taking care of me, that she was grateful to have me in her life. Gradually, I learned to accept her affection and sharing, and tried to reciprocate with all I had. After I graduated, we had a serious talk about the future. I clearly remember that evening, sitting together on the old sofa in my cramped apartment. I held Emily's hand and told her I loved her, and that I hoped to marry her someday and build a small family. My heart pounded, fearing she might feel pressured or hesitant. But Emily smiled, her blue eyes shining with happiness, and nodded slightly. She said she loved me too and had thought about us being together long-term. We were both young and wanted to establish our careers before starting a family, but that unspoken promise motivated me to work harder. The following years were not easy. I switched to a work visa after graduation, trying to find a job to stay in the US to be near Emily. Fortunately, I landed a job that allowed me to stay, although the starting salary wasn't much. I started my career at the bottom, and the meager salary made me feel insecure, especially compared to Emily. She quickly advanced in her career after graduating, earning a good salary and the respect of her colleagues. While I was still struggling to prove myself, Emily's career seemed to have a red carpet rolled out in front of her. This sometimes made me feel inadequate. When we went out to eat, she often insisted on paying, knowing my wallet wasn't full. Each time, I felt guilty and told myself I had to try harder so that one day I could take care of her, at least share the financial burden. We come from two different worlds, and it showed in many aspects of our lives. My family in Vietnam is not well off. My parents and siblings still live in a small house on the outskirts of Saigon. Every month, I tried to save a portion of my salary to send home to help my parents. Emily understood and sympathized, but I knew deep down there were things she didn't fully grasp about my situation. In contrast, Emily's family is quite affluent, middle-class American. Her parents own a spacious house in the suburbs, have cars, and a savings account for their daughter. The first time I visited her family for Thanksgiving 5 years ago, I was stunned by the difference. A table laden with traditional Western dishes, a cozy house filled with family photos and diplomas. Emily's parents welcomed me politely but kept a certain distance. They inquired about my work and my future plans in the US. I still remember the thoughtful look in her father's eyes when I said I was still trying to establish my career and hadn't achieved anything successful yet. Perhaps, deep down, they were worried their daughter was dating a man without a stable future. Despite these differences, our love remained strong for many years. I always told myself that if I just tried harder, proved to everyone that I could succeed, the gap between Emily and me would gradually narrow. In fact, besides our differences, we also had a lot in common. We both enjoyed picnics in the park, loved Studio Ghibli movies, and every weekend we tried cooking a new dish. Sometimes Vietnamese food for me to ease my homesickness, sometimes Italian food, which she loved. Every moment with her made me feel warm and peaceful. Yet, deep down, I still harbored unnamed anxieties. I feared that one day Emily would realize I was too different, that I would never be able to keep up with her life and expectations. When she took me to parties with her colleagues, I often listened quietly rather than participating actively. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing, afraid people wouldn't understand my accented speech, and I'd feel embarrassed. Sometimes someone would jokingly ask, "When are you two getting married?" And each time Emily just laughed it off, but I could see a flicker of tension in her eyes. I laughed too, but my heart was filled with questions. Had she never really thought about marrying me? Or was it just that we were busy and the time wasn't right? 9 years, not a short time, enough for two people to understand each other well, yet marriage remained something vague in the future. A turning point came last summer when my company faced difficulties and had to downsize. I was among those affected. The moment I received the termination notice, I was numb. Not only did I lose my already modest income, but more importantly, my visa status was threatened. I was on a work visa, and if I couldn't find a new job within a short period, I risked having to leave the US. The thought of being separated from Emily, of leaving the life I had worked so hard to build here, terrified me. That evening, I returned home with a heavy heart. I had prepared a simple dinner, spaghetti with tomato sauce, Emily's favorite, planning to tell her about my job. When she walked through the door and saw the table set with 2 plates of pasta and glasses of wine, Emily smiled brightly, about to kiss me as usual. But my distraught expression must have stopped her. She anxiously asked me what was wrong. I pulled out a chair for her and slowly told her about losing my job and its potential consequences. As I spoke, I saw Emily's expression change from surprise to worry. Her hand on the table trembled slightly. I tried to stay calm, but my voice still wavered. I don't know what to do. If I can't find a new job to transfer my visa within the next few months, I might have to go back home. I looked deep into her eyes. Unless I hesitated, get married. If you agree, that could help me stay legally. Saying those words felt like my heart was exploding. I never wanted to put Emily in a position where she had to make such a choice. I understood that a proposal in such difficult circumstances wasn't romantic at all, even seemed like I was taking advantage of her feelings. But this was the harsh reality we faced. I loved Emily and couldn't imagine life without her, but I also didn't want her to feel pressured because of my visa situation. It was hard to find a perfect solution. At that moment, the room fell silent. Emily sat across from me, her eyes wide as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. After a moment, she stammered, You're saying that if not, you'll have to leave?" I nodded, feeling a bitter taste in my throat. Emily dropped her hands, leaning back against the chair. Her eyes darted between me and the plate of cold pasta on the table. Then suddenly, she stood up abruptly, took a few steps, and turned her back to me. I saw her shoulders shaking as if she was trying to suppress a wave of emotion. My mind was a tangled mess. Should I go and hug her, or give her space to think? Finally, Emily turned to look at me, tears welling up in her eyes. Her voice choked. "I don't know. I really don't know what to say right now." She took a deep breath, then continued, trying to keep her voice steady. "This is so sudden. I need time to think." I was speechless, just nodding. She grabbed her coat and purse, whispered, "I need to go out for a bit," and hurried out of the apartment, leaving me with overwhelming emptiness and worry. That night, I sat numbly on the chair for hours, my mind racing. I didn't dare call her, afraid I would put more pressure on her. I didn't even bother touching my pasta, letting it get cold and stiff on the plate. Negative thoughts flooded in. Had I made a mistake by mentioning marriage like that? Had I turned our love into a transaction? I blamed myself for losing my job, for not being good enough to avoid this predicament. And above all, the fear of losing Emily grew, suffocating my heart. Near midnight, the door opened. I jumped up when I saw Emily return. She looked tired, her eyes red and swollen as if she had been crying a lot. I awkwardly approached her, softly calling her name. Emily looked at me, the sadness on her face making my heart ache. She spoke, her voice hoarse. "Can we talk?" I nodded, and we both sat down on the sofa. My heart pounded, sensing that what I was about to hear might not be pleasant. Emily spoke first, slowly and hesitantly. She said she was sorry for leaving so abruptly, that she understood the pressure I was under, and she cared about me deeply, didn't want to see me leave. But she paused, as if choosing her words. She wasn't sure she was ready for marriage, especially under these circumstances. She confessed that all this time, despite loving me, she had always had doubts about our long-term future, that her family, especially her father, had repeatedly reminded her of the differences between us. I held my breath, listening, my heart clenching as she started to cry. Her voice choked with sobs. Emily continued, "My parents are always worried. They're afraid that if we get married, you'll rely on me financially. You know, you don't make as much money as I do. Your career isn't stable. They're also afraid." She paused, swallowing hard. "Afraid you're using marriage just to get a green card to stay in the US. I know you're not like that, but they keep saying those things, making me confused." Her words felt like knives cutting into my heart. I clenched my fists until they turned white. Emily continued, tears streaming down her face. "I really love you, but every time I think about marriage, I worry. What if one day you get a green card and then leave me? What if you get tired of life with an ordinary American girl like me and want something else? I know this might hurt you, but these are the fears I've been hiding." I felt the ground crumble beneath my feet. So, after all these years together, she still doubted my feelings and intentions? Was I the man she loved for 9 years, or just an opportunist in her and her family's eyes? My throat tightened, but I knew if I didn't say anything now, I might lose her forever. I took a shaky breath, gently placing my hand on Emily's. She looked up at me, her teary eyes filled with anxiety. My voice trembled, but I tried to stay calm. "I understand. I understand why you're scared." Honestly, at that moment, I was both angry and hurt. But looking at the woman I loved breaking down, I couldn't let negative emotions take over. "Emily, I'm sorry for putting you in this difficult position," I said slowly. "I never wanted you to doubt my love. Perhaps I was too hasty and clumsy in mentioning marriage because of the visa issue." My voice cracked slightly. "But think about us over the years. 9 years is not a short time. If I only wanted to use you to stay in the US or for money, I wouldn't have stayed with you for so long. I'm here because I love you. I love you for who you are, not because of your nationality or your wallet. I have my pride too. Do you think I could be happy living off you without trying?" Emily stared at me, tears still flowing, but she listened to every word. I continued, trying to keep my voice steady. "I admit I'm not rich. My career isn't as successful as yours. But I have been and am striving every day. You've seen what I've been through. From a fresh-off-the-boat student to now, I haven't been afraid of hard work. I believe that with time, I will build my own career. I never wanted to rely on you. In fact, that's what made me feel insecure and sad many times, because I felt I couldn't give you the best life." I squeezed her hand gently, feeling her slender shoulders trembling. "I love you and want to marry you. That's the truth, regardless of the visa issue. I've always dreamed of that day, not because of the marriage certificate that helps me stay here, but because I truly want you to be my family." I paused, trying to prevent my voice from breaking. "But I also understand your fears. I just hope you understand that I'm not like what they think. I have never and will never betray your trust. If you need time to fully trust me, I'm willing to wait. I just ask you not to push me away." I couldn't hold back any longer, my voice breaking. "I'm afraid of losing you, Emily." We both fell silent after I poured out my heart. In the quiet room, only Emily's soft sobs could be heard. I didn't know when my own tears had started to fall. A long time later, Emily wiped her tears and nodded slightly. She said through her sobs, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doubting you. I'm really sorry." Then she threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly as if afraid I would disappear. I felt her warmth and rapid heartbeat. I hugged her back, patting her back gently as if to comfort her. We held each other like that for a long time, letting the hurt slowly subside with each tear. That night, we talked for a long time, more openly and honestly than ever before. Emily confessed that the pressure from her family and the invisible fear had made her confused. Her parents really cared about her. They didn't hate me, but they were afraid their daughter would suffer if she married an immigrant struggling financially. Their words and those of friends around her made her waver, even though she knew who I really was. "I've always been struggling with myself," she sobbed, "between my love and trust in you, and my fear of the future. I feel guilty for not being strong enough to protect our love from those doubts." I listened and realized that this wasn't anyone's fault alone. Society can sometimes be harsh towards foreigners like me. I didn't blame her family for their worries. Perhaps if I were in their shoes, I would also be wary of a man from halfway around the world with an unstable career and whether he could bring happiness to their daughter. I gently told Emily that I understood the pressure she faced and thanked her for being honest with me. We decided to face this problem together, rather than letting it tear us apart. That night ended with us sitting together on the sofa until dawn, holding hands as if to give each other courage. I knew that the road ahead might still be bumpy. I still didn't have a job, my future in the US was still uncertain. But at least, after this honest conversation, Emily and I understood each other better than ever before. In the following days, I started searching for a new job. Emily encouraged me every day. She even asked her friends and colleagues if they knew of any openings that matched my skills. Her initiative touched me deeply. It showed me she was serious about keeping me here, working towards our shared future. During that time, Emily's family gradually changed their attitude. Perhaps after learning that we almost broke up because of their concerns, her parents reconsidered. One evening, her father invited us to dinner at their house. I was a little nervous sitting down at the table with them, remembering how tense the atmosphere had been the last time I was there. But this time, things seemed different. Emily's father actively inquired about my situation, and he spoke in a sincere voice. "I heard from Emily about your difficulties. I'm very sorry for misunderstanding you before. Actually, seeing how you've cared for my daughter all these years, I know you're a good man." I looked up at him, surprised and touched beyond words. He continued, "Her mother and I only worry about Emily's future. But now I see that if you truly love each other, those differences are not as important as your happiness. You have diligence and sincerity, and I believe you will succeed. The most important thing is to treat Emily well." Hearing those words brought tears to my eyes. I could only nod my thanks. Beside me, Emily squeezed my hand as if to give me strength. That night, for the first time in years, I felt truly accepted by her family as one of them. Emily's mother even packed us some apple pie to take home, a small gesture, but incredibly heartwarming. Then, luck smiled upon me. After more than a month of actively applying and interviewing, I finally received a job offer from a small technology company. The position didn't have a high salary, but importantly, they were willing to sponsor my visa. I was so overjoyed I almost jumped for joy when I read the email announcing the good news. The day I officially signed the contract, Emily took me out to celebrate at her favorite restaurant. For the first time, I didn't feel insecure letting her pay, because in my heart, I knew we were truly a team, sharing joys and sorrows together. With the new job, the threat of having to leave the US temporarily dissipated. Emily and I gradually returned to our normal rhythm of life, but our relationship deepened significantly. Those honest conversations helped us understand each other's hearts. I no longer avoided the topic of the future, and Emily no longer panicked when she heard about marriage. That autumn, on the 10th anniversary of our meeting, I decided to propose to Emily properly and romantically, not for any procedural reasons, but entirely out of love and our genuine readiness. I secretly prepared a simple ring. Although my finances weren't abundant, I saved up to buy a small, beautiful engagement ring with a sapphire, Emily's favorite stone. I also asked a few close friends to help me surprise her. That day, I invited Emily to the park, where we had our first date in college. Under the old oak tree, while she was engrossed in watching the sunset over the lake, I gently knelt down on one knee, my hand trembling as I opened the ring box. My heart was pounding, but my heart was filled with happiness and determination. I softly called out, "Emily." She turned around and immediately put her hand over her mouth in surprise when she saw me kneeling. I looked straight into her eyes and said with all sincerity, "Will you marry me?" Emily was momentarily stunned. Then a radiant smile spread across her lips, tears of happiness streaming down. She nodded repeatedly, speechless. I gently slid the ring onto her trembling finger, then stood up and hugged her tightly amidst the applause. I was startled to realize that around us, our friends, who had secretly been watching, were also clapping and cheering. It turned out Emily hadn't noticed them setting up a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of wine on a nearby bench. She laughed and cried and playfully hit my shoulder for conspiring with our friends behind her back. At that moment, I felt like the happiest man in the world. Our wedding day took place a year later, a small, intimate ceremony in Emily's parents' garden. The sky was clear blue, and golden sunlight streamed down the flower-lined aisle. I wore a neat suit, but sweat kept dripping from my nervousness, while Emily, in her pristine white wedding dress, walked across the green lawn like an angel. As the bride approached the groom, I looked deep into her sparkling eyes and suddenly remembered everything we had gone through to reach this day. From a bewildered student in a foreign land, I was about to become the husband of the American woman I loved more than myself. All the difficulties, misunderstandings, tears, ultimately made this moment even more meaningful. The vows echoed in the quiet space. We exchanged rings and a sweet kiss amidst the applause of family and friends. I saw my parents sitting in the front row, my mother's eyes also red. Yes, we had arranged for my family to fly over for the wedding. To me, it was a miracle. My parents, simple farmers who never thought they would set foot in America, were now here witnessing their son getting married. I think I even saw my father secretly wiping away tears of pride. Emily's parents came up to hug us. Her mother said emotionally, "Welcome to our family." Her father patted my shoulder and gave me a hug, his first hug, with the words, "Take good care of Emily." I choked up, only able to nod in agreement. Around us, our friends clinked glasses in celebration, their faces radiant. That night, after the wedding, Emily and I sat together on the patio, gazing at the twinkling stars. She leaned her head on my shoulder, her hand tightly clasped in mine. Without needing to say much, we both deeply felt the peace and completeness of this moment. I whispered, "Thank you for trusting me." Emily looked up at me and smiled. "Thank you for never letting go." Just that simple sentence was enough for me to understand that all the challenges we had overcome had only strengthened our love. Now, as I write these lines, I've been Emily's husband for over 6 months. Life goes on with its daily routines. I'm still working hard at my new job. Emily is still busy with her career. We rent a small, cozy apartment in the suburbs, making coffee together in the morning, cooking dinner, and watching our favorite movies in the evening. Occasionally, we have minor disagreements, but we always try to listen and understand each other more. I think that after all, the most important thing we've learned is trust and sharing. Without secrets or hidden fears, we're honest with each other about everything, good or bad. Looking back on our journey, I sometimes still wonder if it's a real-life fairy tale. An immigrant with nothing and an American girl overcoming so many obstacles to reach happiness together. But then I understand, there's no magic other than love, perseverance, and empathy. It was sincere love that helped us bridge the differences in culture and background. Perseverance helped us not let go of each other when storms hit, and empathy helped us forgive the doubts, grow together after stumbling. I share my story here not only to unburden my heart, but also in the hope that someone out there, those in similar situations, might find a little bit of faith. Faith that true love can conquer prejudice, conquer fear. I was once very heartbroken, thinking I would lose the woman I loved because of differences that seemed insurmountable. But it turns out that when both of you look in the same direction, hold hands and walk through the storms, happiness will be waiting at the end of the road. And for me now, every morning when I wake up and see the woman I love sleeping peacefully beside me, I know I made the right choice. Though the road ahead is long and certainly will have its difficulties, I believe that with love and understanding, we will continue to write our own happy story, just as we have for the past 9 years.